Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, it's, 1KD or 1KH or something like that, Kamala Harris, a day after her and Mr. Biden actually appeared together for the first time. So we got a little article we're going to start out with. Progressives, and I've been telling you this for a while now, progressives absolutely loathe Kamala Harris. The Bernieites, the Bernie bros, they can't stand her. But does that mean they won't vote for her? A lot of them are going to hold their nose and vote anyway, but we'll explain more about that in a minute. And then President Trump, a big reason why he won in 2016 was women vote. White women voted for him in very high numbers. There are some polling and some pundits who are suggesting that Donald Trump is losing the suburban woman's vote this time around. And we'll talk about that and see just how factual that may or may not be. And then if we have time, we want to get to something that is about you dregs and deplorables out there. Yeah, people like me and Billy Bob here, my psychic sidekick, who has a Twitter handle, by the way. It's at Billy Bob Bass 1, and mine is at John Martin Talks. Apparently, there are a few among us that are just rule breakers, especially when it comes to this pandemic or whatever you want to call it, that some of us just can't abide by the rules, and they come out with some reasons why. But before we get any deeper into the actual show, if you're just tuning in, I got something great news for you, and it is about a giveaway we're doing. We are giving away right here what we call this Everyday Concealed Carry Prize Pack. And the way you need to register for it, no obligation whatsoever. It is absolutely free to one lucky listener at the end of the month. Go to the link in a description of our show, and you'll see a link that says John Martin Giveaway. Click on that link, follow the instructions, and you will be registered to win this great prize pool. Feel free to invite your family and friends to register as well. Let me tell you briefly what's in it. First of all, it's the pack itself. This is specially designed for concealed carry and all the supplies you might need to travel on the road with it, but it can be used for virtually anything. It is a pack of superior quality. All of this, by the way, is donated to us by our sponsor. We're in the Big Daddy Unlimited Studios, BDU, Big Daddy Unlimited. They're supporting our show now, and you can help us by supporting them and supporting our show. There is a link, a sponsorship link in the same description of the giveaway link where you can, and it's a separate link, you can go and for 99-cent one-time free trial, which is basically free. If you have any interest in Second Amendment, from guns and ammo right down to tactical equipment like this, or swag like the shirt I'm wearing right now, you get factory direct discounts. And so check that out, our sponsor, Big Daddy Unlimited. Check out the link. But our prize pack includes this pack. Go to the giveaway link in the description of our show. It also includes this tactical flashlight that is just a phenom in and of itself. I mean, this little thing packs a punch, man. It does more than you can possibly imagine a flashlight, especially of its size, doing. We have some other gifts that'll be in the pack, including this ditty bag that you can hold everything from ammunition, gun cleaning supplies, or makeup if you choose to. And right here, no concealed carry would be worth its salt without both a holster and a magazine clip in case you need more than 7 shots to kill a deer, like old Cuomo said in New York. Anyway, all that can be yours if you simply go for free, no obligation. Go to the John Martin giveaway link. Also go to our sponsor link, but check it out in the description of the show. All right, we're going to move along here. The first story from the New York Times, and it's all about Kamala Harris, right? I don't know about Joe Biden, but it's Kamala Harris, at least for another week or so, and then we'll see. Progressives didn't want Harris for VP, but they're backing her anyway, according to this analysis from the New York Times. Let me take a quick sip here. I'm John Martin, not Dean Martin, so, you can guess what's in the cup. From the moment Bernie Sanders exited the presidential race in early April, many activist organizers, progressive groups, and elected officials had held out hope that Joseph R. Biden Jr. would elevate one of their ideological allies to the vice presidency. In other words, pick a hardcore progressive. I'd maintain that he actually did in Kamala Harris, but there are other people who may disagree with me. Someone like Senator Elizabeth Liawapa, as I call her, Warren of Massachusetts, or Representative Karen Bass of California, who is the head of the Black Caucus, I do believe, in the Congress. Kamala Harris, an establishment-friendly senator from California and more of a moderate, maybe, was near the bottom of their list. So this is true. I was telling you this. I've been predicting that Kamala Harris would be the VP choice for months now. Not that hard a prediction, but, I knew all these others were just window dressing. But let me just tell you, the Bernie bros, the Bernieites, they don't like Kamala, and I'll get into some of the reasons in just a moment. But are they going to hold their nose and vote for her anyway? Those that are suffering from Trump derangement syndrome might, or will. There's no question about it, they will. Bernie is going to, because he is the power to a certain extent behind the throne, and we'll expand upon all of that. So when Mr. Biden announced on Tuesday that he had selected Ms. Harris to serve as his running mate, his choice reaffirmed what many progressives had long feared, or they're worried about Joe Biden, that any potential Biden administration would govern as the former vice president had spent most of his career firmly rooted in Democratic establishment politics. Well, the Democratic establishment politics is a fact. Joe Biden has been at the core of that from the beginning, and basically Kamala Harris has gravitated towards that way as well. But I've been telling you Bernieites for a long time that you were being sold out from the very beginning. And this has nothing to do with Kamala Harris. This is just like the crescent of that, so to speak. Bernie Sanders, let me tell you snowflakes out there that love old Bernie, I'm about to melt you if you hadn't heard this before, but if I say it, certainly it bears repeating. Bernie never intended to be president. That is not why he was running. And I got great evidence of this. First, go back to 2016 when he absolutely refused to take on Hillary Clinton until it was much, much too late. Remember, I'm tired of hearing about your damned emails in the very first debate, I think it was. So he signaled right then that he wasn't serious about taking on Hillary Clinton. And then you go fast forward to 2020 where you might say, okay, now it's Bernie's to lose, which it appeared to be. And Bernie never intended, I can tell you flat out, go back to the last presidential debate when it was just Bernie and Mr. Biden. Bernie had one last shot if he wanted to actually become president of the United States, at least get the Democratic nomination, and that was to take out Joe Biden. What did he do? I mean, go back and look at that. We're not going to play it, but it was sad, man. If you're a Bernie bro, it had to sit there and make you shed some tears, man. Because Bernie not only did not take out Biden, but he didn't even attempt to. In fact, he basically gave in to Joe in that debate. And ever since, if you've been wondering about it, that proves to me that Bernie was never serious about becoming president of the United States and was looking to feather his own nest. There's tons of evidence. If you can't see that, then you need to get your head out of something, because I'm telling you, it is absolutely true. And Bernie is an establishment figure. He's been in politics for 40 some odd years, man. How could he be anything? It's the only real job he's ever had. I hadn't talked about this in a while, but Bernie is an establishment guy. Is he a left of center establishment guy? Yeah, he is. He is, but establishment nonetheless. And all you really need to know, if you're willing to look at the reality of the situation, is go back to Ocasio-Cortez's election. When she first won, who did Bernie support? She was up against a 26-year, I believe it was, incumbent, and I think his name was Joe Crowley. I'm pretty sure of that. Ocasio-Cortez was up against a 26-year, highly funded incumbent. And who was Bernie for in that Democratic primary? I'll give you one guess. It was Joe Crowley. He was not for Ocasio-Cortez. He jumped on the Ocasio-Cortez bandwagon after she won. And that's all you really need to know. If he was really anti-establishment, he would have at least been neutral in that race, but he endorsed Joe Crowley. Enough said. All right, we're going to move on to one last word about this, at least for now, to you Bernieites. If you seriously want an anti-establishment figure to be the president of the United States, you're in luck. We got one running right now for re-election. It ain't Joe Biden. Donald Trump, love him, hate him, whatever. One thing, if you're honest with yourself, you have to admit that Donald Trump is the opposite of establishment. He is actually trying to drain the swamp, and that is why every establishment figure on both sides of the aisle, including the mainstream media, has been on him, out to get him since day one. That is one thing that he and Bernard Sanders actually have in common. It is that the establishment generally is opposed to them having power. So if you want an anti-establishment political figure to be in the White House, get on the Trump train, baby. Woo-hoo. I mean, that's the way it is. But when I was writing this, I thought of something that I hadn't really popped in my head, so I got to share it with you. Something that pops in my head, you know. The Constitution itself. Let's talk about that for just a brief second. The actual U.S. Constitution, guess what kind of document it is at its core? It is an anti-establishment document. It really is. Think about it for a minute. The Constitution is about as anti-establishment as you could get, because nothing like it had ever been written before and basically since. It took power away from government and gave it directly to the people. That basically had never been done. There had been variations from it, but to empower rugged individuals, and we'll talk about that in just a moment, the U.S. Constitution, I would maintain, is the greatest anti-establishment document ever written. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But rather than revolt, many progressives, rather than, in other words, turn around because they don't like Kamala, they actually don't, but rather than revolt and say, hey, you picked the wrong person, many progressive activists and elected officials immediately snuffed out their criticism and instead proclaimed their support, applauding the selection and reiterating that removing President Trump from office was their electoral priority. And this is something, I guess, grudgingly, I will give Democrats and progressives, which are basically one and the same. They run the party, by the way. Not all Democrats, but your party, trust me, your party of JFK, dead and gone. Party of Bernie Sanders, hardcore progressives, alive and well. The progressives will actually turn around and collectively do what's in their best interest if they think it like getting behind Biden. So I'm not all that concerned. I think there will be some fall off, but a lot of people will just line up. Republicans have a hard time doing that sometimes. Look at the difference. Even today, I mean, back up. Biden, as soon as it became clear that he was the last man standing, so to speak, all these Democrats folded in behind him pretty much, right? Even Bernie, like I say, back to those debates, Bernie actually folded in behind Biden early. He could have taken him on or taken him out, chose not to for whatever reason. Certainly it wasn't because he wanted to be president. But the Republicans, many of the establishment leaders of the Republican Party to this day are not behind Donald Trump. Republican voters are, but Republican leaders, not so much, man. And there's plenty of evidence of that. So I will give some credit to progressive Democrats. They will come together when push comes to shove. And, maybe that's a positive, maybe it's not. It's a fact nonetheless. Even those prone to denouncing Mr. Biden and other moderates, talking about these progressives, largely tried to make peace. In other words, they went from we the people to we the sheeple. I mean, that's just the way it is. The sheep, if sheep were allowed to vote, they'd vote for the very slaughterhouse that's going to slaughter them. And that's exactly, if you're voting, because trust me on this, the vote is not for Joe Biden, really. If this election is about Joe Biden, I've been saying this even before Kamala Harris, if the election is about Joe Biden, the man, he can't win. If it's anti-Trump, perhaps pro-Kamala now, because she's going to be the de facto president no matter what, whether Biden is serves his 4 years or not. Who is going to be the power behind the throne? I would say Kamala is going to be a big part of that. But you progressives, there is some good news about that, and I will speak to it in just a moment. But you guys have been sold out, you Bernieites, from the very beginning, and the pick of Kamala Harris is just a pièce de résistance, man. Evan Weber, and we're going to hear from a few of these progressives of why they have decided to that back Bernie. Now they're swinging to Biden, even though they're holding their nose. Evan Weber, the political director for the Sunrise Movement, the climate advocacy group, which endorsed Mr. Sanders in the primary, in other words, Green New Deal people, said at the end of the day, this isn't some Democrat decision. Okay. This was always going to be a decision that was up to the vice president and a personal one of his. Now, let me ask you, Mr. What is it? Let me make sure I get his name right here. Mr. Weber, I believe. Yeah, Mr. Evan Weber. Let me ask you, sir, do you really believe that Biden made this choice? That Biden was sitting there and he's contemplating all this, and they say they interviewed 11 people in the last couple of weeks. Do you really believe that Joe Biden said, I've thought about this a lot, and Kamala, she's my gal? I mean, do you really believe that? Unless she got on that couch, I don't believe that, man. I don't think Biden had very little input in who this would be, period. And all you need to know is I want to show you a quick video that's just a snippet of the supposed surprise announcement or whatever when Biden zoomed into Ms. Harris and decided to make her his VP. Watch this video and see how phony it is, and then I'm going to point out something very specific. Check this out.
All right.
Hi. Sorry to keep you.
No, that's all right. You ready to go to work?
Oh my God. I'm so ready to go to work.
That's good enough.
I was raised to
Then there's the rest of that's Kamala Harris, a little tidbit video. But Joe Biden supposedly zoomed in on her, literally and figuratively, on a Zoom connection and asked her to be his vice president. Now, everybody knows that was scripted. But how scripted? And it's supposed to be scripted. I mean, really. So I'm not really berating them over that. But if Joe Biden, the man, I'm going to point out, I'm going to show you a picture in just a minute here. If Joe Biden was sincere about Kamala Harris, would he need, look at this picture in close detail. What is that in front of Joe? Not the computer, but right where his hands are. He's got a script, by the way. He's got a script in front of him to talk to Kamala Harris. Someone he is he's compadre, simpadre, or however you want to say it with. That's with her, that he has this deep connection through his son, Beau Biden, and all that. They probably do, and that's why she needs to be investigated about where some of her money might be coming from. But that's a side story. We got time for that. But Biden had the literal script. That tells me one of two things, if not both. One, that Biden can't even hold a thought long enough to say something spontaneous to the person he's asking to be vice president. And two, he doesn't know squat about Kamala Harris. He didn't. I mean, if he really knew who Kamala Harris was, she'd probably be last on his list. But he needed a script. I think that says it all, man, right there. But going back to the article here, Larry Cohen, the chairman of the Sanders aligned group, Our Revolution, described Ms. Harris as extremely competent. Now, is that why she dropped out of the race before a single vote was even counted? I mean, think about that. Kamala Harris, who was crowned the female Obama when she first announced for president, she peaked the day she announced she was running for president. She quit before a single vote was actually cast. She quit before the Iowa primaries. Now, there's a couple of reasons why she did that. I personally believe that she did it for personal reasons because she had $40 million in the bank. It came out during the announcement here for her being VP that she's got $40 million in cash waiting there. That's why a lot of people drop out when they can't raise any more money, because there's rules that basically allow them to keep them. They're kind of complicated, but they can keep it. And secondly, I believe that she was setting herself up to be the VP choice for whomever actually won, and she didn't want to be damaged goods coming out of the primaries because it looked like she was going to be absolutely clobbered, and she was. So she dropped out to save face. Cohen went on to say she's not Warren or Bass, talking about Elizabeth Warren, or this Bass lady who is about as far left as you can get in terms of her background, but I don't think it makes sense for us to criticize the reality. So basically what he's saying is his first choice was a socialist Lia Whopper, Elizabeth Warren, and most likely his first choice and the choice of the Bernie Bros would have been a communist in Miss Bass, who was just outright a communist. There's really no question about that. She was a big fan of Fidel Castro. That's all you really need to know. Progressives are negotiating another political reality that, and this is very important right here, that Miss Harris could be the party's face of the future. Certainly if they win, and even if they don't, if she accounts for herself pretty well, no question she could be. And crossing her now will have political consequences that did not exist a week ago, basically. So now that she's become the VP, she is a force to be reckoned with. She will be the president of the United States if Biden is elected. Either figuratively, behind the scenes, or literally if the majority of Americans, including like 57% of Democrats who recently were polled, that said they don't expect Biden to serve out his first term. So if you actually believe that, and I understand why you do, I probably believe that as well, you're voting for Kamala Harris, one way or another. The next president of the United States, if the Biden-Harris ticket wins, will be either literally or figuratively Kamala Harris. So she is. But, you know, I got to thinking about that. I got to thinking about Kamala Harris. She reminds me of someone, you know, Joe is like this empty shell, right? But Kamala Harris, my son and I were looking at the video last night of their first public appearance, and she was behind Biden in a chair looking at him. And he said, "Is that a look of admiration?" And I thought about it, and I've been thinking about it ever since then. I didn't think it was, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. But Billy Bob told me right before the show that she did remind me of somebody. You know who she reminds me of? Actually, a man, Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. Remember, he said, "Chaos is a ladder, baby." And I believe that she is Littlefinger, literally and figuratively. Maybe Willie Brown might have been Big Finger. I don't know. But she's Littlefinger, man. That is who we're thinking about electing. When I say we, I'm talking about some Americans are thinking about putting in the White House. We're going to put Littlefinger. Even in Game of Thrones, they had the sense to off with his head, right? But that's who it is, man. She dropped out of the race to be VP, and I told you she got $40 million in the bank. Mr. Weber, one of the other pundits here, went on to say, "I don't know that the left is more excited by the Harris-Biden ticket than they would have been otherwise, but it's clear that she's to the left of Biden." Why? Okay. And she's been more accountable, except I guess they got something in common. They like to put black folks in jail. That's one thing that Biden and Kamala have in lockstep, man. They like to put black people in jail. But it's clear that she's to the left of Biden. This is Mr. Weber's words. And she's been more accountable to movements. And he's not talking about movements like movements to the left or right, you know, or like political movements. He's talking about being able to move her, you know, throughout her career. Movements. Now, I've been telling you that Biden is an empty shell. That the one reason why Bernie and that bunch finally got behind Biden is they realized that he's a tabula rasa, man, a blank slate. He don't know what day it is, so they can just tell him. That's why he needs notes, man. He just needs notes to talk to Kamala, because they can just put whatever they want in those notes, and that's what he's going to say, right? And then Kamala, well, she's a dry well. He's an empty shell. She's a dry well. Let me tell you, and I've played this before, but if I play it, it bears replaying, I suppose. This is what I see now as the new role for Kamala Harris right here. Check it out. That's what Kamala Harris, she's going to be blowing into the empty shell that is Biden, and somebody will probably be blowing into some shell, her empty well, to fill it up with whatever water they want it to be. But Biden-Harris ticket, let me just tell you progressives out there, they're leery about voting for them. You should be, because you be careful what you wish for. These are my words. Biden is obviously going to do whatever they tell him to do. Whatever the script is, he'll read it, no problem. Biden is your guy if you want to be able to totally control and manipulate. But who's going to be telling him what to do? Who's going to be writing that script? That's what you better be careful of, because right now it appears it's going to be Kamala Harris. And I don't know. One thing we know, Kamala Harris, Biden going to do what he's told. So whoever's telling him to do it, that's right. So Bernie and them are hoping it's going. But Kamala, is Littlefinger, man. I'm telling you, she is for herself. She will do one thing her career has proved without a shadow of a doubt. That lady will do whatever is necessary. And I stress whatever is necessary. Look at her career. Whatever is necessary to grab power and advance up that chaotic ladder. Because the climb, as Littlefinger said, is all there is. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why she is a very dangerous person, no matter which side of the aisle or you're on. Because she is all about herself. And that's the last thing we need in the White House for sure. So Bernie bros, you know, if you really want to vote for an anti-establishment figure, you only got one choice. That is Donald J. Trump. All right, we're going to move on to a Politico article. They're all political, right? Trump makes fear-based appeal to women as Biden picks Harris. So they're basically saying that Trump is fearing that Harris is the key to winning for Biden, and that women vote, the black vote, all that, especially black women vote, but that he's worried about a constituency that supported him strongly in 2016, and that is white women. So they're saying he's ready to beg, borrow, steal, lie, create fear just to save his behind. President Donald Trump is dropping any effort at subtlety with an overt and concerted last-ditch effort to win back a core constituency that propelled his 2016 win, white women. So this idea, you know, it kind of goes counter to something they said about women in general that voted for Trump. Because remember, they said that basically men like you and me, us dregs and deplorables of society, told our women, like this is really true, told our women, hey, this is who you gonna vote for. Like that would work, man. I got to ask you out there, chime in on whatever Facebook page you're listening to, whether it be Citizens for Trump, good morning, howdy, how are you? America's Voice News, who I'm on live on Facebook, but they rebroadcast us on a late night show. Check it out, America's Voice News. They're on Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV. They got free apps on Android and iPhone. While we're at it free, don't forget we're giving away this Big Daddy Unlimited prize pack. All you got to do is go to the description of our show, John Martin giveaway. Check it out. Also, check out our sponsor link if you want to help the show. It's also Big Daddy Unlimited. Get this prize pack. I described it in detail at the beginning. But America's Voice News is also on channel 219, Dish Network, and Pluto Network, and they archive our show. You can also, by the way, check us out on our YouTube channel. Spell it all the way out, John Martin Talks. It doesn't matter where you're watching from. You're eligible for the prize pack if you simply fill out go to the link and fill out the form there for the prize pack. We need more people on YouTube, by the way. That's one thing we really need your help. So no matter where you're watching, give us a view on YouTube. I would subscribe to our channel. I would greatly appreciate it. But this idea, back to the story, this idea that men, MAGA men, for instance, or drag men like me, are telling our wives who to vote for is absolutely ludicrous. I got to tell you, if anything, it's the other way around. The women tell, I hate to break the little taboo secret here, but if anybody's telling anybody who to vote for, it's women telling the men, not the other way around. So this idea that, women are going to pull away from Trump, I don't know. It seems to me a bit far-fetched. Faced with a rival, Joe Biden, who just tapped a black woman of color, she's got all these different letters of the alphabet, join him in the Democratic ticket. Trump is trying to stop a defection of women voters using a flurry of tweets and 11th hour policy initiatives designed to play into potential fears. So he's trying to scare the women out there, fears about their families and communities. Potential fears. Let me play. I want to play something here do you really have to have potential fears? Aren't there enough real fears? Play this little video, compliments of Tucker Carlson. Check it out. At least I hope we can. Here we go.
Durant's car and screamed obscenities at her child. Terrified, Tara Durant called 911. And here's the